But I guess it's because of the recording. We want to make sure. Yeah, fair enough.
Wonderful. Very, very warm welcome. Thank you for making the time to be here this afternoon with us. And if you're going up and down the promenade, I know it must be quite a trek for people to get back and forth between events. So we're so happy to have you here. So I'm Subhashini Chandran, Vice President of Social Impact at Mastercard, responsible for Asia Pacific. And I have with me today...
Hi, everyone. I'm Ajaita Shah. I'm the founder CEO of Frontier Markets, who we'll talk about what I do later, but also in the context of Davos. A, we're partners, and B, I won the Schwab Social Innovator Award of the Year this year. So we're celebrating today.
Yes, and having a conversation around that, exactly. So congratulations, Ajaita. It's really like, it's usually a big week for everyone who frequents Davos. We get so much done here, and we learn a lot. But for Ajaita, it's been a particularly big week. So I would love to hear how this week has gone for you, what it means, and really say how very proud we are as a partner to be here with you at this moment. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Tell us more.
No, thank you. And also thank you, CII, for giving us this space to have this, I think, very important conversation around gender, around technology, around the power of rural markets and India. And of course, what a beautiful space to be at the We Lead Lounge to do this, right? So cheers to everyone that really made this thing happen, because it is the first time that there is a gender lounge that is sponsored by India, which is amazing. Which kind of brings to the point of let me just tell you who I am and what I do. So I started as a company called Frontier Markets about now 12 years ago in rural India. And the only goal was two things: unlock women's potential and unlock rural markets. And the reason for that was because 800 million people today in India, in 700,000 villages, are not accessing products and services that they need to actually improve their quality of life. I mean, that's massive, right? And so the way that we approach that is we look at investing in women, investing in technology, and essentially becoming that platform that connects products and services to people at the last mile. But who are those people? It's rural entrepreneurs and it's rural communities, so both. And so we have 20,000 rural women digital facilitators who we call Saro Jeevan Sahelis, who take our technology and essentially help companies design and deliver solutions at the last mile. But what's exciting is that those women are then trusted influencers using voice to actually tell you community needs, and ultimately also are the wealth creators, right? Earning over $30 million that they're investing back into their families. And I mean, it's huge. So last year I'd launched this initiative called She Leads Bharat, which essentially was to take the 20,000 to 1 million for 100 million lives, recognizing the power of partnership with government, local communities, and social businesses. So reflecting on all of that and being the winner of Davos, I'll tell you that for me, the reason why I started this in the first place, and I've been really reflecting on like the importance and of my voice as well in this kind of platform, where a couple of key things, right? One, that social innovators are not just an impact story, they're smart business. And on a fundamental level, how do we as social innovators step up to shape the narrative on business and purpose, really that win-win for the larger corporates of the world, and understanding that we can actually enable big impact money and people and planet outcomes in a really big way. But then also the fact that I get to share the story that inspired me the most, right? And I mean, this is like literally 14 years ago. I remember going to a village in Dholpur, Rajasthan, and I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with India, but Rajasthan's in it's northwestern part of the country. Rajasthan is traditionally known to tend to be a bit more of the more patriarchal state, but there's an initiative called the Self-Help Group Initiative, which was started in India 40, 50 years ago, which is a massive movement around getting women's collectives together and really giving them the capacity and opportunity to be centers of change for their own families and get out of their houses, right? And so I met one of these women, and she was training other women in this room, telling them about why it's super smart to save your money and not to put it into your mattress, but actually put it into a bank account. But the only way you can save money is if you are essentially earning money. So she was trying to convince them about why livelihoods and jobs is important and why we as women should not just be responsible for taking care of our families at home, but actually contributing. So I asked her, I was like, how? How are you so inspired to do this? And she said, she looked at me like I was foolish for asking this question. She was like, listen, have you ever seen a cow cart? It has 4 big wheels on it, and that cart needs to have those 4 big wheels to be able to move anywhere. And ultimately, I am one of those wheels. So if I don't contribute to my family, then we are never going to be productive and allies in the future. And the fact of the matter is that she was so cool. And she was like, I was like, what do you need? She's like, I need to be seen. I need to be heard. I need to also have access to the right tools to make me even better. Because I have the ability to not just impact my family, I have the ability to impact literally my entire village or the entire state. And that is where like the She Leads Bharat nexus comes in, right? So for me, reflecting about that in Davos has been so powerful to be able to bring her narrative to the floor. And then lastly, I do think that there is a movement where corporates and government and social innovators are coming together at this core nexus around health, climate, and most importantly, the thing that we all love, gender. So yeah, over to you. Well, what are your reflections? I mean, you've been also at the stage in this really intense way in very different platforms and audiences. I mean, what have you been hearing and seeing?
I'll tell you that, but yeah, I just want to sort of summarize Ajaita's story for her and for all of your benefit. I think what's happened this week, the recognition is really, Ajaita, about two things for you. It's 2 decades of effort and perseverance and believing, in an agenda. The vision evolves, but just truly to believe in an agenda, to be, sort of raised in America and to come home in search of meaning and to find your place in your home country and to serve is a tremendous thing. So what we're most proud of, really, with this award is that it recognizes that at a very personal level of leadership, and as a partner, we offer our congratulations around that. And I think there's something bigger at a macro level that it also recognizes, that finally it is now time for social innovation to be considered a way towards commercial business. That it is no more on the fringe. We're not talking about a feel-good social enterprise that's somewhere flirting with being a nonprofit and coming towards doing good, but may or may not, be viable. I think there's a lot more rigor and recognizing the She Leads Bharat movement, but also the Mary Saheli app, very loudly sends that message around social innovation is here to stay. We need to bet on it and back it. And most of all, with both of us being Indian and sharing this platform right here, what a moment. That there is, that there is this model, that it can be replicated, it can be scaled, it can be shared with the world, lessons to share. I think I shiver as I say it because it is absolutely emotional to celebrate that.
I'm shivering right now.
So it's fantastic, and all power to you, really, all
thank
power
you so
to
much
you.
no, thank you so much for that. But, first of all, really thank you for that. But, I mean, Mastercard Center for Inclusive Growth, your position and your leadership is so critical as well. And as you've been in this space, in these conversations, around the role that corporates can play, what are the key areas that are interested? I mean, what is your reflections around that also from your perspective?
Sure. So overall, really taking a step back, it's been a super productive week for us. I think many corporations here who are strategic partners of the forum have learned very quickly that the most productive things probably happen outside the Congress Center, and the most fun people are the ones without the white badges. So we have a ton of programming that is outside the Congress Center. So we've done the first thing, which enables us to be here, met with most of our partners and clients and customers. So we've done the bread and butter stuff. And beyond that, two really wonderful things happened that I think are relevant for our joint work. We brought a roundtable together with UNSGSA, Her Majesty Queen Maxima, and about 4 or 5 central bank governors from the Global South, but also 24 financial service providers, big banks, from around the world, including America. So this is really interesting. And we had a conversation around what the state of financial well-being is of women in the world today. And as Mastercard, we pride ourselves at being on the front lines of, sort of inclusive growth and really through financial inclusion. But one of the things that we've learned is that's really not enough. What does that mean if it doesn't enable financial well-being and health? So a very good discussion around that, which I left thinking there is now a sense among mainstream banks, which has not always been the case, to solution and create for the women that we work with every day around the world, right? So that was amazing. Yeah. The US, there's so much. 33% of the US population isn't financially healthy. So this is a need from, it's a need across the world, and I think it can be an export from the global south, some of these solutions, for the whole world. So that was definitely very big. Otherwise, no big surprises. I think a very somber mood. The state of the world is where it's at now. And I think we behaved a little bit more decently. I saw some parties, but not that many on the high street. So a little bit of respect for where we are in the world and the fragility and the vulnerability, right? That we're amongst a lot of talk around transformation and tech. I wasn't that impressed by that. I think we're doing a lot of talking. We don't fully understand it. And I'm constantly worried that we've already left many behind, including many of our own. So it'll be interesting to see where this conversation, last year was blockchain, this year it's AI. It'll be interesting to see where this conversation goes and how we connect all of it so that we bring everyone along with us in the benefits, right? The risks are there, but the benefits.
But I think that, so with that, I mean, let's get into like our partnership and why then the role that Mastercard Center for Inclusive Growth has been so critical in terms of really not only pioneering the right narrative around transformational change, around gender, around responsible data, around how to take data to action. And most importantly, because I've learned so much about Mastercard in just the last couple of months with our partnership, recognizing that you're actually a technology leader in all of this in such an powerful way, but also unlocking that finance. And so how we came together and also then the impact that you have on organizations like me that helped me change my innovative drive, right? So Shubha mentioned this Meri Saheli app, right? And this app was designed by rural women for rural women in this local vernacular sort of way, which was essentially supposed to be a tool that is supposed to help women unlock their potential as entrepreneurs. So 20,000 Sahelis, they were these sales agent doorstep women that were essentially using data and helping deliver products and services, like selling. They were sellers, data collectors, sellers, and we kept evolving the app to keep adding more and more partners into it. But then when we met, you reminded me that there are 15.7 million small women entrepreneurs that are actually not on the radar of any of this work in terms of inclusive finance and unlocking that financial potential. And then, when we partnered together, it wasn't just the funding. We literally designed the coolest innovation, which is those same women entrepreneurs are no longer sellers. They're gig facilitators who are actually unlocking 5 women businesses in each of their villages. So imagine, like, when you just change your perspective and you start looking at people differently, women as farmers, women as entrepreneurs, but you bring in the same innovative tech, but then the facilitation, it's game-changing what you can do, because all of a sudden together, we'll unlock the data of 100,000 women entrepreneurs that are digital businesses who actually then will become assets for really big companies. And the testing for us was Airtel Payments Bank, right? One of the biggest digital banking institutions in the country, who ultimately suddenly is seeing us as a valuable partner, but also realizing unlocking the potential of these women to become the banking correspondents in the world. But none of this could happen if we didn't get access to the finance, get access to the capacity building and the training that you're doing to make us step up our game as a leader in the space. So thank you for that. But I'd love to hear, why did you pick us? Why us?
Yeah. If it's not obvious to the room, after everything I've said, well, really 3 things. It's always useful to summarize. I think on the one level, what we're trying to do here is really prove the case for catalytic philanthropic capital to excite the private sector to act on gender. That's one part of that. And the second piece, act on gender how? By integrating it into their own supply and distribution channels. It's not a nice thing to do on the side. Just go back and look at your reports, look at your performance, and just organize your business a little bit better, right? Because today we have partners that can help you do that, and therefore enter frontier markets, right? We recognize that while vision is incredible, the commitment is there, often organizations like frontier markets need support to build up, but the solution was basically there. Right? So we just were very excited to bring that to the attention of big business and to be able to say, take a bet. You don't need to pay for it. We'll pay for it. Just take the damn bet. right? So I think that was at one level really catalytic philanthropy for integrating gender into private sector models. That was one big piece for us. The second, of course, the point I already mentioned around social innovation. I think when you do assisted commerce, like where it's at right now in a country like India, I think you're harnessing both tech and social innovation and bringing tech and touch together to make it really work. And I think will improve our chances for success. So the fact that you had 30,000 people already, boots on the ground, that was an asset that we valued. We saw value in that straight away and got excited about how we could unlock it. And then I remember, having that chat in a cafe in Singapore when she was there visiting. And she was telling me about her whole vision. And then I said, everybody you're talking about is also a market. So you need to start thinking that every single woman that you think you're helping generate income is somebody who will help you earn your revenue. She's a consumer too. So how do you think about them both as empowered participants in the economy as much as those that you will empower to participate in the economy, right? And suddenly it kind of unlocks more value, and you're serving them, you're engaging them, and that's really important because we want them engaged in financial services. We want them to use, we want to drive that up, and then we want them to save and grow and thrive. So that was sort of definitely a second part, and the third, of course, is just really sending the massive message out that private-public sector partnerships are needed, and more private partnerships can happen because they are private, right? They're just smaller than you, but they can solve for you. So I think those were the three big things that really excited me about our partnership. But I'm going to turn it back to you.
Yeah.
To say, what now, really, almost a year down the road, what are you most excited about? What does this opportunity offer for you? Where's the 5-year vision? Where are you going?
So, to your point, it is big business opportunities that also are driving impact. And I think that what's extremely exciting about the She Leads Bharat initiative, so a couple of things. One, 5-year vision is it's 1 million of these digital women entrepreneurs that will unlock 100 million families' voices and markets, which is going to be a beautiful opportunity because we're now getting invited by governments to essentially leverage their networks of self-help groups. And just to give you this in context, there's 80 million women that are potentially candidates to become these Sahelis. And then there's 15.7 million businesses that actually could become assets for everything. And so that's really the one big exciting element that I am truly looking forward to. And also then again, the private sector partnerships that we've been able to unlock, thinking about this with tech and data. And data for a second, okay? Like the fact of the matter is that when you are using women who connect to people that they already know, the trust factor that we're talking about in terms of what Davos is about, it's women are not rebuilding trust. Women are actually trust holders, and they're going to be able to unlock such beautiful insights to help us drive different solutions for markets. And then I think the third is, I think the point that you were bringing up earlier, financial health in my mind is about how do you help someone make money, use money more effectively, but also not lose money, right? And in that nexus, the role of healthcare and the role of climate is so critical, right? As we're thinking about vulnerabilities in terms of what happens in the masses. And, we've dealt with COVID, we've dealt with like 100 different climate calamities just in the last couple of months, right? In India as a country. And I think that's really where we're saying, how do we harness this powerful network of women and platform and now solve for bigger things, right? Like solve for women farmers' ability to become climate solution providers, climate game changers with like smart agriculture or like clean energy products, but then also recognize that that means that like agri companies or circular economy companies are suddenly going, oh my God, we need you to help save the planet. And that's really, really what's exciting for me. So She Leads Bharat as an initiative, not just the numbers, right? But it's really unlocking this in finance, in healthcare, in commerce, in climate. And then because I launched the fund, She Leads Impact, it's really because of your leadership in helping me think differently, is that this technology is so powerful. And we already have 100 global access companies that we know that want to build their gender lens and replicate a model like this, which means that we launched She Leads X, which basically means that if you are a last mile access organization who wants a gender lens and wants to unlock markets and capital, come to us, we'll incubate you, we'll give you the capital, we'll bring you the opportunity. But then future-wise, that power, like 7 billion people, data and markets, it's not trillions, it's hundreds of trillions of dollars, which I think is going to be really exciting. So, but I again want to turn it back to you in terms of your vision, and also what's the big top of mind for you, again, as a corporation, as you're thinking about things going forward.
So let's stay with climate for a moment, because I think it's an important one that we haven't comprehensively addressed for those of us who are sort of on the financial services and tech side. I think in our partnership, for example, there's a phenomenal opportunity to layer a solution and response to climate for the same population set. Traditionally, we haven't thought about it enough in that way. You know, we talk about inclusivity and we talk about climate resilience. We don't necessarily talk about both together. But we know very well that financial health and well-being just disappears with one event and one shock, and that's it. So increasingly, we're thinking about how we offer a response on climate resilience and mitigation to the women that we work with, in addition to all the support that we bring around access to capital or markets and knowledge and know-how to grow your business. Because it just doesn't seem to make sense to do that and leave them so vulnerable to another whole element, which is every day increasing. We also know that they take longer to recover. So that's the other piece. We learned this in COVID. With any shock, women entrepreneurs and women small businesses take longer to recover. They also lose time. So if you take like dramatic last mile, if you've got a small business that you're running and there is drought and you have to travel further for water, that's that much less time that you have to engage in economic activity, household needs. So it's so deeply interlinked, it sometimes surprises me that we didn't think about it so. So we're really looking at innovation in that space, thinking about what could inclusive climate finance look like for this population set, right?
Yeah, so, I'll give a tangible example of what we had just done recently. And again, this is, I think, for me, where collaborations and partnerships are so critical. There was an ag finance company called Samunati in India who came to us and said, we just got $1 million from Rabobank Foundation to encourage us to improve our gender lens in financing for women farmers. So we want to leverage your platform to reach your farmers. And I said, no. And and they looked at me like, really? And I said, here's why. Because I don't actually, do you even know who a woman farmer is? Do you understand her needs? And are you designing for her today? Because if you're not, then no. But if you want, let's leverage your catalytic capital and design for these women farmers. And of course, everything was about understanding what their climate experiences have been just in the last few months, let alone years. And we learned about what they needed, right? So this was done in Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan. So 25,000 women farmers were mapped. And we essentially understood what they needed: climate resilient seeds, they needed liquid fertilizer, they needed training, and then they also needed capital. So we designed this then in partnership with then ag finance companies, ag tech companies, climate experts, bundled the package, used the Sahelis to actually then unlock that potential. And 25,000 women farmers actually felt like they were ready to face their next big challenge. But this keeps evolving. Right? And I think that's the challenge. So leadership on, again, from your perspective of how do we further innovate and be prepared, leveraging the harness of technology and finance, et cetera, I think is something also that we have to think through.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. A lot of work to be done. I think the only thing I'd add to that is to say that we need to bundle it, right? Like we need to offer it in a way that it's a choice, but it also becomes affordable for them not to really think about it as a separate choice and an additional cost, because the vulnerabilities are increasing. And so we worry a lot about that. So, and I think there's a great opportunity with everything that you're doing to layer this once we know what it is that people need and serve them that way. And the final thing I'll say about all design to do with women, I think is, and this has been also one of our biggest learnings over a decade of work, is you have to first build trust, right? It's the starting point. And then you have to co-create. Like it has to be so inclusive. And I think that's one of the most exciting things about the Meri Saheli app and the work you do, that it is co-created with them, for them, and delivered to them by them. We know that women trust women faster, They know how to sell to women better. They also know how to sell to men better, by the way. But we know that women sell better to women. So I think tapping on all of that is one of the smartest things about this approach. And we're very, very excited about that. But Ajaita, I do want to give a few moments to the floor for questions, but anything else? Anything else you want to say?
I mean, not really. I think we covered a lot. I would love to hear from the audience for sure, but I just do want to take just this moment of, again, reflections on the award and everything, and also just thank you for being you, and also the fact that I really hope that there are more organizations like Mastercard that really take on that initiative to really lean in and see us as the social innovators in the ways that you've seen, the way you see me, the way you see frontier markets, the way you see the Sahelis, the way you see our technology and capability and opportunity is just so phenomenally awesome that as we're sitting in this place, how do we bring in more of those people and how do we understand how to unlock that? So I just wanted to take that minute and just thank you for being the pioneering leader, helping me become who I am and the way that I will be. And I'm super just excited about what's going to happen in the next 5 years.
I think it's fantastic. Well, we're in it for the long run, and it's a call to action for everybody here. You've now just heard about frontier markets. Please go talk about it. Invite people to come and join the movement. We're looking at pharma, FMCG companies, because anywhere where there can be disruption in terms of including women in the distribution channel, I think in about a year's time, this model will be robust enough to be able to offer that up for application. So the more people who are aware about it and talk about it will be helpful to the cause and to the project. So with that, I would love to open the floor. I think we've got a few minutes. Happy to take any questions, comments. Yes, please introduce yourself. So I'd love to know who you are.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Tam. I'm the founder of a company called Says Life. We're based here in Switzerland. And so I'm just fascinated by this. And as serendipity has it, I've landed in this beautiful room and listening to your conversation. So it's really inspiring. And as a female founder, I'm looking at ways to distribute. And so I think your model, I would love to learn more about it. And specifically, maybe for other group, are you looking at your model to do just product-based, so physical product selling? Or are there capabilities and opportunities for training and helping women on the ground to be consultants? Because I'm in the financial services and well-being area. So for me, I think it would be so interesting to see how this could be broadened and expanded and utilized.
So thank you for that question. So the answer is yes. Very simply put, the way we built the technology, the idea was that there's hundreds of innovations out there, services as well as, of course, physical products. The point was that I don't want to create them because there are other amazing people that do it, but they need access. They need a platform. So we've integrated almost 46 different innovators into the platform. So that includes training. There's also, we've been thinking about mental health and well-being. There's this amazing company called Mera Bills in India, Priya Bahadur, and she's been helping in financial literacy training to understand account management. So every time I hear cool things, I go, let's integrate. So it's really been the integration platform. And then to your point about the consultancy thing, which I think is really powerful, I totally agree. Our women are consultants already. And what's awesome is that they're consulting in both ways. So they're consulting and helping others in their community also get onboarded onto the platform. And that's where the assisted piece works. But they're also now consultants to give data to businesses to design better. So there's a dual consultancy that's happening. So especially as we're talking about the financial sector, innovating interesting financial services is going to come from them. But thank you for that question. So I hope that, and I'm more than happy to engage after. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah.
Quick question. Next to this one. Super. Thank you. I'm Darshita Gillis. I'm the founder and CEO of Munch. We are a platform to enable mobilization of finance towards sustainability. My question for you is, for both of you, is imagine you're in 2025, you're at Davos again. What did you achieve in this year, or what are your aspirations for this year? What are we celebrating next year?
We know what Ajaita's...
As us as partners, or because I was going to say there's a... So for me the question's a lot. For me the question's a lot easier. Yeah, so for me, the question's a lot easier because anything that we now do is going to be catalyzed by this partnership. So I know what we will be celebrating in a year in this partnership, and what FM's identity will be is that we will have had 15,000 small women businesses transacting through the Meri Saheli app and also being banking correspondents. So they're actually cross-selling, upselling, reselling, ideally unlocking capital for so they would be serving around 450,000 households, which is huge. But we're also mapping 100,000 women businesses beyond that to think about our next level of scale. So what I need right now is I need more partners to come in the way that Mastercard has in terms of the blended finance piece, but then also around the innovation of products and services. So that's one, but then also prepare to then finance the 100,000 women businesses for 2026. So that's kind of where I would position it, but over to you.
No, I think that's it. So we have very clear goals. What we'd like to see happen by 2025 is that while this powers towards its achievement, that we also onboard more partners who make similar commitments, right? Because I think the model will be tested enough to expand while it delivers on this database of 100,000 women who can earn from opportunities through private sector partnerships. So talk about it, please champion, and put them in touch with Ajaita. I think that's
and we'll talk about how you're unlocking your finance in a second, because Munch is obviously very interesting. It would be really interesting to see. So one other thing I'll just say, because again, we're in CII's space also, is that it is really important for the domestic corporates to step in, right? And so really bring in that leadership, right? So whether it's so we have Jubilant today, right? But we need much more than that, right? Where are the HULs or the Mishos or others that really can come in, the Nikas, right? I mean, there's enough companies that are local, that are Indian, that have capital, and that needs to be unlocked also.
Great point. So I've got my eye on the clock with that. I want to thank you all very much for your engagement and for joining us. Have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.